Thursday, the 2nd of June 2026. I'd like to welcome all these speakers and residents here tonight that are in the gallery to listen to those that are speaking at public forum. So first of all, I'd like to call Michael Walton to come to the podium and speak, please, if you would. Michael, like all the speakers, in line with our code of meeting practice, we'll give you 3 minutes to have a chat.
Yes, I understand. Thank you. Mr Mayor, councillors, my name is Michael Walton. I'm President of the DUNGOWAN Creek Alliance, and I'm here to support item 5.1 and to thank Councillor Rodder for bringing it forward today. This evening you'll hear from 2 other Alliance committee members on water security and broader community impacts, so I'll focus more on why this resolution has become necessary. So the proponent of the DUNGOWAN Pumped Hydro Project is called EDF, and EDF appears to believe that it's got a real chance of getting access to DUNGOWAN Dam and the town water pipes. So this 2024 email from EDF to Council shows that discussions have been going on for more than 2 years about EDF accessing this town water infrastructure. The email also shows that EDF wants to pump water from the town water pipes into its pumped hydro reservoirs. This one-page EDF flyer that was tabled at the meeting on the 28th of April this year here with Council says that EDF has been engaging with Tamworth Regional Council for a potential water allocation out of DUNGOWAN Dam. And you might remember in December last year, the Mayor sent a letter to the New South Wales Planning Minister, and that letter said that Council officers have told EDF that Council supports the pumped hydro project in principle, subject to a water security caveat. So I can tell you about 6 weeks ago, a director of EDF told the Alliance that the company still thinks that this is Council's policy, in principle support of the project. But of course it's not Council's policy. Council has never voted to support EDF's project in principle, and in fact Council is not in a position tonight to support or oppose the project as a whole. You don't have enough information, there's no scoping report and there's no EIS. But Council does have enough information tonight to pass Councillor Rodder's motion. I've already gone through some of the reasons why. So what this resolution will do is confirm that Council has never resolved to support this project, so it corrects the record. And the second thing it does, is, crucially, is resolve that DUNGOWAN Dam and associated town water assets are just too important to Tamworth's water security to be made available to any pumped hydro project in the DUNGOWAN Valley. So this resolution does not stop EDF developing its proposal. It simply protects Tamworth's public town water assets by making it clear that they are not available for a private project. So in conclusion, the Alliance asks councillors to support this motion unanimously tonight, to step up and to draw a clear line in the sand. Ratepayers look to you to protect the town water supply and to put a stop to all this nonsense about EDF using DUNGOWAN Dam, the town water pipes, the land around the dam, and any of the town water assets in the DUNGOWAN Valley. So please vote tonight to protect these important water security assets. Thank you.
Next speaker I'll call Peter Bainbridge on the same topic.
Ready to go? Okay. All right. Good evening, Mr Mayor and councillors. My name is Peter Bainbridge, committee member of the DUNGOWAN Creek Alliance, and I live in Oganville. This will be regarding the item 5.1. I'm here to address the concerns of the local community. Firstly, there are safety fears for the declared aged DUNGOWAN Dam. It is rated high A which translate to a high risk of dam failure due to extreme rainfall or earthquake. The concern is the cascading effect of both dam and EDF's reservoirs water flooding the valley with catastrophic results. EDF's plan is to have 3 accommodation camps where these sites will be accessing the water. We don't know, that's a question. We've been told there will be up to 500 workers on site. Will this site be alcohol-free zone? Where will the water for all the concrete construction for the whole project come from? There is a concern of polluting the creek with sewage from the campsites, also the impact of diesel and chemical spills and the muddy runoff from the construction site running into the creek. What effect will this pollution have on fish and wildlife? There will be an impact of dust on our health, and dust is locally on our health, and dust getting in our water tanks off our roofs. There will be noise pollution and loss of our night sky. This creek is the lifeblood of the valley, used for domestic water, as the pipeline is not potable. It is also used for stock and irrigation. When the creek is at a certain flow level, there is a cease-to-pump rule applied to the irrigators in the valley. Our concern is that this rule be enforced more often when EDF needs to access water from the dam, as they are the ones to get first access. To access the site, there's a 3.3 kilometre drive up down DUNGOWAN Dam Road with a tree-lined 1-lane dirt road and a further 3 k's to the workers' accommodation. There's warning sign on that at the beginning of that road stating no heavy vibration rolling, which would impact the town pipeline. There will be heavy construction vehicles constantly traversing that road for at least 5-year period. This road will have to be increased to 2 lanes. Pipeline damage is imminent. And the eucalyptus trees on the side of the road will have to remove for the widening of the road. And these trees are habitats for koalas. Another concern is the safety of the 3 school buses that travel to and from the town. They'll be faced with multiple construction vehicles on a road that is rated in the most areas at level 1. Level 1 is the worst rating of a road. Construction vehicles, large stock trucks, cars towing caravans, general traffic on a winding 80 km/h road. In the case of an accident, we have no mobile reception past DUNGOWAN Station. This will be a disaster waiting to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I'll now call on Leslie Cole to come and speak on the same topic.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Leslie Cole. I'm the Secretary of the DUNGOWAN Creek Alliance from Oganville. I'm here to support item 5.1 on your agenda. This motion takes no position for or against the pumped hydro project, but it does draw a hard line on regional water security. In discussions between EDF and Tamworth Council, which started in 2024, EDF has expressed interest in accessing DUNGOWAN Dam, the town water pipes, council-owned land around the dam, and even water allocations from the dam. After 2 years, EDF still appears to believe that access to DUNGOWAN Dam and other water assets is a possibility. As councillors, you are under unprecedented competing pressures from the Commonwealth's rapid population explosion, the push for regional decentralisation, and your own Blueprint 100 strategy. On top of that, the state is demanding we host renewables. And as you know, we already do not have a single drop of water to spare. But leadership means knowing what is negotiable and what is absolute. And water is absolute. On average, 35% of Tamworth's water comes from DUNGOWAN Dam. Pumped hydro requires gigalitres of water to operate. Even if a developer promises a closed loop system, that initial fill and the massive ongoing evaporation losses must come from somewhere. If you grant direct access to the DUNGOWAN system, you are locking up critical water in an active catchment, water that belongs to our local aquifers, our historic farming lands, and the taps of Tamworth residents. We are being told this project is vital for our state's energy transition. But let's be clear. This is a case of perceived energy security being prioritised over actual physical water survival. EDF's promises of grid stability are entirely theoretical if the catchment doesn't have the water to sustain it. You cannot generate electricity from an empty reservoir, but you can collapse a regional city by locking up its water supply in pursuit of an energy mirage. Nor should Council imagine EDF will solve the existing dam safety problems. An EDF director told us 6 weeks ago that EDF will not spend a cent to upgrade the dam, the town water pipes, or to build a new DUNGOWAN dam. During the next inevitable drought of record, when local irrigators are shut down and mums and dads are on level 5 water restrictions, how will you justify a private energy company holding gigalitres of our water hostage in the hills? I urge you not to undermine our most sacred asset. Please make it clear that DUNGOWAN Dam, the town water pipes and water assets are not available for French government profits by supporting this motion. Thank you.
The final speaker tonight is Jake Watkins on item 5.2.
Esteemed Mayor and Councillors, my name is Jack Watkins. I speak today as a resident and homeowner of Tamworth. I also speak on behalf of many members of the Tamworth bouldering community. Climbing and bouldering have been a significant part of my life for more than 25 years. Around 13 years ago, I chose to leave Brisbane and relocate to Tamworth to build a life and raise a family in a regional community. My only reservation at the time was the lack of climbing facilities, which is common across regional Australia. Approximately 10 years ago, I was delighted when the Tamworth Bouldering Gym opened. Over the years, I've come to realise that its owners created far more than a place to exercise. They've built a vibrant, inclusive and supportive sporting community that is genuinely unique and, in my experience, unlike anything else in Australia. Tamworth Bouldering also has strong connections with local schools. Students from primary and secondary schools across the region participate regularly. The sport helps young people develop confidence, resilience, problem-solving skills and physical fitness in a safe and supportive environment. It provides an important pathway for those who may not be drawn to traditional team sports. For these reasons, I welcomed Council's unanimous decision on the 12th of May to negotiate an outcome that would allow this sport to continue thriving in Tamworth. It was therefore disappointing to learn that some councillors may now wish to rescind this motion, creating uncertainty about Council's commitment to finding a negotiated solution. I acknowledge that I'm not privy to the details of the expression of interest or the recommendations that have been provided to Council. However, from a community perspective, I question whether the assessment criteria and weightings have adequately recognised the social and sporting value that the current facility delivers to hundreds of Tamworth residents. The loss of this facility would mean the loss of a sporting opportunity that few regional communities enjoy. It would remove a welcoming environment for people of all ages, abilities and backgrounds, and reduce the diversity of recreational opportunities available in our region. Tamworth proudly promotes itself as a regional centre of sporting excellence. We invest heavily in sporting infrastructure and recognise the role sport plays in building healthy, connected communities. The loss of any sport would be regrettable. The loss of a thriving and established sporting community would be particularly disappointing. I respectfully ask Council to consider not only the commercial aspects of this decision, but also the broader community benefits delivered over the past decade. I urge you to honour the spirit of the resolution passed on the 12th of May and work towards an outcome that ensures bouldering remains a valued and accessible sport in Tamworth. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Jake. Councillors and members of the public, that brings to the end of the list of speakers that we have for public forum. So therefore, I will close public forum for Tuesday the 2nd of June, and I'll ask all those in the chamber to please vacate the chamber until the council meeting is brought on at 6 o'clock. Declare the meeting open and go to item 1 on the agenda, which is apologies and leave of absence. We do have one apology tonight. Councillor Stephen Mears, who's an apology for a short period of time because of the death within the family. His father had passed on. So could I have someone accept that apology? Councillor Brooke, Councillor Impey, all those in favour? Councillors, we'll go to item 2, minutes on the previous meeting. Could I have someone report them? Councillor Bard, Councillor Impey, Councillor Bard, any questions? Any other councillors, any questions? Councillor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just in relation to item 11.1, expression of interest proposed lease of 7-11A Ann Street, South Tamworth. Just clarifying that the minutes of the recommendation is retained as printed in the minutes from the 12th of May meeting, and that's what we'll be voting on.
That's correct. Further questions, councillors? No further questions. I'll put all in favour of those minutes true and correct record. Please raise your hands. Carried. We'll go to disclosures of interest. Do we have any disclosures of interest? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just the same as last time, that I have a professional relationship with various people involved or, involved in item 5.2, a non-pecuniary interest, significant as a personal interest, but I will ask if I can remain in the chamber.
Councillor Rook.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to declare that for item 8.3, I have a very minor potential conflict that my wife is an employee at that financial institution. However, she doesn't work in any of the commercial loan area, so I consider this to be a less than significant non-pecuniary interest, and I'll be opting to stay in the room.
Thank you. In accepting those, I'd also like to advise that item 5.2, whilst you've spoken to it, Councillor Impey, has been withdrawn from the business paper. So we won't be talking about item 5.2. I should have mentioned it before you stood up and declared an interest. Councillors, on advice from the Office of Local Government, I'm going to ask if somebody could move a suspension of standing orders so that we can consider item 8.6. Councillor Brooke, second to Councillor Sutherland. All those in favour to... Councillor Rodder. Councillors, item 8.6 is in relation to meeting code. Could I have somebody move that? Councillor Brooke, second to Councillor Budd. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
Reserve the right, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against? Any further comments, councillors? There being no further comments. Councillor Brooke, you're fine with that? Councillors, I'll now put item 8.6 as printed. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillors, I'll now ask for a motion to step out of standing orders and back into meeting practice. Councillor Bard, seconded Councillor Sutherland. So we're back in normal meeting procedure. We'll now move to notices of motion. Oh, sorry, Merrill Minute. We have no Merrill Minute tonight. And then we'll now move to item 5, notice of motion. We have 2 notices of motion as we remove 5.2. Councillor Rodder, do you wish to speak to that?
I'd just like to move the motion as shown on the screen. And if I have a second, I'll...
Have a seconder? Councillor Brooke. Councillor Barton.
I'd like to move an amendment, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment that item 2, hang on, we'll get the right motion.
What's happened there?
The right motion? Yes. Yep. Clean up, just wait till we're ready. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd move that item 2 be removed from that motion.
Have a seconder for that? Councillor Impey, you wish to speak further?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's factual that council have not, in fact, made a resolution in relation to anything in relation to this project. And in fact, the decision has been made by the Mayor in absence of all councillors, which is the role of the Mayor. The Mayor, in the absence of councillors, is the council and does speak on their behalf when matters arise that require a response. And in this instance, and refer back to the letter that was shown earlier tonight, a letter back to the Honourable Paul Scully MP, who asked a question of council and required a response. So that response is clear. Without going through too much, the first point is, in principle, council supports the project as its potential to bring significant economic benefits, in principle, to the region through local procurement, supplies, materials and other interactions with local businesses. Access to water is a critical issue. Should the project...
Councillor.
Mr. Nick, can I just ask that Councillor Budd adjust his microphone and speak up a little bit, just
Probably
trouble hearing that.
Probably covering with my paper. I've done it before. Thank you. As we know, access to water is a critical issue. Point 2, should the project negatively impact the City of Tamworth water future security, it is unlikely council would support the project. However, council will not, this is the important thing, will not adopt the final position until full details of the project are available, including environmental impact statement, and council can make a fully informed decision. So I move that item 2 is actually irrelevant and should be removed. Thank you.
Further, anyone wish to speak against that? Councillor Ryder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I was just speaking against the removal of dot point 2 because, look, there's not a lot of meat left on the bone for this recommendation, this motion generally. It is actually, as Councillor Budd said, it is stating a fact that the elected council had never resolved to support the proposed project in principle or otherwise. And even though you know we've heard that letter, this by keeping that in, it's stating a fact. The elected council here has not resolved to support the project, and by removing it, it sort of suggests that maybe we do support it. And I think what the community want and what they're asking for is the I guess the confidence in the future that we are actually standing up for water security, for the water infrastructure that the community owns, for the pipelines and the creek and water from the dam. Generally, I cannot I cannot support additional changes to this motion, and I believe that what my original motion has provided is a bit more confidence to the community that we are there, supporting them, and we're standing up for our water supplies. And in relation to detrimental projects, we can either have a bet each way, or we can actually stand up and actually defend what we need to defend, and that is the DUNGOWAN Dam, the infrastructure, the pipeline, the water. So I am certainly speaking against the removal of dot point 2 because I think it really bluntens the intention of the whole recommendation.
Councillor Roy, I'll just make one comment. That letter is abundantly clear to the readers of that letter that council in no way will support taking water out of our dam or our pipeline. So further speakers, councillors? On the amendment, we're speaking on the amendment. For the amendment. Yes, for the amendment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm going to speak in favour of the amendment. I hear what Councillor Rod is saying around the significance of dot point 2. I just want to draw people's attention to dot point 1 that I think is really clear in saying that we want to clarify that Tamworth Regional Council does not support pumped hydro proposals that are reliant on the water source from our town water supply. I think when we talk around the water security issues that we have across the region, it's well known that that is at the top of the priority list for everybody across the LGA. Any kind of projects, significant projects, are going to impact significant on our town water supply and water infrastructure. I think that dot point makes it clear to say that water is a priority, and that's going to be put above the needs of an organisation or an intent around whatever kind of project it is. Dot point 2, saying that council The removal of previous what was dot point 2, saying that as a council we want to make clear that we haven't voted to support the project, we haven't voted to not support it, or we haven't had a decision at all. Either way, and so I think including that in kind of gives an intention to say that a decision has been made. There has been no decision made on an individual project. This project hasn't had a conversation. That's why I welcome dot point 3 around a workshop for us to get some more information so we can start making some decisions. But I think that what you've said in the letter reads really clear, but I think dot point 1 is also should breathe some level of confidence into the community to say that water security is not up for question, and that whether it's this project or another project that compromises our town and region's water supply, that goes against the interest and the will not only of council but of the residents itself. So I'm going to vote in support of the amendment.
Further speakers? There being no further speakers, councillors, I'll put the amendment. Those in favour say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Those opposed? 2. So Councillor Rodder and Councillor Brooke, you're voting against the amendment. The amendment is now, the motion has passed and is now the motion. I'd like to ask all those in favour of that motion to please raise their hand. Oh, sorry, you want to speak to the...
This item on the business paper, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone's had an opportunity to speak.
Motion which is now in front of us, which was...
That's right, so I'd just like to speak to that in favour of the motion that's in front of us. And there's a whole lot I'd like to say actually, because we came to this meeting with, a few of us got together and spoke about this and some amendments that we had. We were looking at that, and I've written a bit of, I don't normally write a bit of a talk about it all, but we came here with those amendments, and we have moved and come up with this, most of what this motion is now. And I think it's a credit to all the councillors here, as it was, particularly Councillor Rodder and Councillor Brooke and Councillor Budd. We had a lot of input, and we come to something, I think, a good consensus. We couldn't get through point 2, but we've moved on from that now. I'd just like to say I think this is a great opportunity to clarify and ease concerns that Tamworth Regional Council will not jeopardise our water security by allowing pumped hydro projects to use any of our water allocation to run their system. Groups that have been consulted about the project have previously been made aware of Tamworth Regional Council's position as per the letter that's been read out. In principle, and only in principle, we support the proposed project, provided there is no negative impact on Tamworth's water security. However, we cannot fully commit to it until we get all the details of the project. I note that through communication from a number of residents who have contacted me over the last few days, and there's been a few, and there's been some letters sent to me, the ones that are concerned about this water issue, all have started by stating they are not against the project, but are mainly concerned about EDF using council's water allocation to start and top up the project. And I think that's every councillor's concern here. So we're pretty lockstep in saying we're not going to give up any of our water allocation for this. But I think you also need to remember that this is anticipated to be $1 billion project. We've seen the benefits of the building of the new Biota chicken abattoir, which cost $4 to $5 million. The benefits to our community would be immense, alongside supplies, trades and services to be used in the building of the project. There would need to be significant upgrades to roads and services associated with this build and long-term contributions to community. I also suspect there may even be ways to leverage better water security outcomes for the area in a variety of ways. So it actually goes the opposite about these concerns. I think we have good opportunities to leverage more water security. I welcome that there's a representative from EDF here tonight, listening on. It's an opportunity to express to them our community's concerns and allows good information flow back in the hope that as a project legacy, a fantastic outcome would be enhanced water security for the City of Tamworth. I thank the DUNGOWAN Creek Alliance for the concerns about Tamworth residents' water security. This enables us to once again emphasise that we are not giving any of our water away to this project. But while at it, I'd also like to call on the local member representatives in state and federal parliaments, Mr Kevin Anderson and Mr Barnaby Joyce, to come out and fully support initiatives being planned, such as the state government's preferred option to build a pipeline from Lake Keebit to Tamworth to secure Tamworth's future needs, especially with all the water that's going to be needed to build many of the New England Reses projects, let alone supply to the many support workers that will base themselves in the area and our future prosperous growth. So I think we should all be happy that we're actually getting clarity through this motion in the end. We have a bit of debate, but it's clarity for us, clarity for the residents of where we're going with water security. And it's asking for as much possible information on the project that we can probably get, and hopefully EDF will come forward to us with everything they've got that they can give us. So I'd like to support the motion that we've got up there currently.
Thank you. Any further conversation? Any questions? Councillor Budd, do you wish to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think the community should be well aware that everyone in this room, in this chamber, this place, absolutely has water security at our foremost thoughts. I think our position shows that. We just need to move forward now and consider all options as we move forward and wait for something to be presented to us that we can actually talk about. Thank you.
Councillors, that closes the debate. I'll now put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you. Unanimous. Councillors, we now move to item 5.3, which is a notice of motion from Councillor Mears, who is absent from the meeting. Could I have someone move that we receive? No, Councillor Ryder, Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Ryder, do you wish to make comment on behalf? No. Councillors, I think it's pretty much a receive and note. The answers to Councillor Mears' questions are in the report, and it actually does talk on item 3 there in the staff comment that council is unable to determine what those incomes might be. So, councillors, Councillor Sutherland.
Just a question, if I may, Mr Mayor. And that is just in regards to the questions. I think the clarity that Councillor Mears was seeking was around the by reducing the head works charges from developers in that space, the responses that were provided to say that there will be no initial upfront cost to residents, and we can't predict that because we don't know what the usage is. But am I right to say that that I don't use the word shortfall, but that difference in what that income is that we're not getting from developers now will come out of the water and sewer fund?
That's correct, Councillor Sutherland, but those figures cannot be determined because it's all assumptions.
No, I just wanted to double check. It's not coming out of the pockets of people now, but it's coming out of the fund or the reserve that holds the community's
Dan, if you wish to contribute to that.
Just to make sure I understand that correctly, that's all.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. You're correct. So at this point in time, we don't know what commercial non-residential development's going to occur, so we don't know what the financial impacts are. We review those incomes every year through our budget process. And so at that point in time, there may be able to be a determination on what those impacts are, but not at this stage. And that would come from our water and sewer funds.
Yep. So that money's not coming, won't be seen as an increase to residents, but that money will be paid for out of the reserve that currently exists.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillors, any further comments? There are no further comments. I'll put the motion as receive and note. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillors, will now go into open reports, environment and planning. We have 6.1. Could I have a mover for 6.1? That is in relation to Tamworth Regional Development Control Plan for the STRATHEDEN estate. Could I have someone move? Councillor Sharpen, second to Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Sharpen, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, while I can support the draft amendments of this recommendation, I can't support the subdivision generally, and I did oppose it when the subdivision recommendation did come up before council. My concern remains that traffic impacts accessing the 1,000 lot subdivision and access along Manila Road, Peel Street, and all the adjoining intersections have not been adequately addressed, and you can see the impacts now during specific times of the day from our existing subdivisions in Moore Creek, and I think that this will only exacerbate that. Then, of course, we have concerns. We've heard a lot about water security, and another 1,000 lot subdivision will impact our high security licence at Chaffey, our water supply at DUNGOWAN, and whatever we may or may not get from Keep It. And we at the moment, I guess, while there are proposals, we have no water security for the foreseeable future other than what we currently have. And I don't believe we can continue to keep on adding the burden of water restrictions and control to the existing residents of Tamworth City, Cootingal or Moombi. And at the moment, I'm not aware of any New South Wales government plans for new public schools in Tamworth or indeed at Moore Creek or Hillview. And I think this is further exacerbating problems that there seems to be no will by either side of the state government to address, and that's why I'll be not supporting it.
Councillor Rodder, this is not a vote on whether this could be approved or not. It's been approved. I realise that. This is a vote on whether we should look at some amendments to the development control plan, and if you have a look at the key amendment points in your report, which is 4 of them there, it talks about all of the things that will make it a better subdivision for the future if they're adopted. So I think the subdivisions there, this is about trying to improve the amenity and the development of that particular subdivision. So I think you're asking for us not to approve it because that's going to affect it. It's still approved. It's approved. It's going to happen. So,
no, well, I just want to clarify that I'm against it purely because of the impacts to infrastructure as it stands today. I mean, if we had a state government that was willing to address those issues, then I'd be more than happy. Look, I don't have a problem with some of the changes that are suggested in it. I just don't support the subdivision.
Council, does anyone wish to speak in favour of the recommendation? Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And I hear what Councillor Rod is saying. Just to clarify, when we're talking around what's in front of us for the draft amendment to the DCP, that the concerns that were raised in the public submissions around transport and the capacity and the load on Manila Road, in the report says that that's outside of the scope of what the DCP looks at, that for any development that happens and as development applications come through, then that will then trigger determinations and consent around what the traffic control will look like, what the road upgrades would need, so we can't expect to have the plan for what the roads would look like before now, because that would be triggered by the development application as it comes in based on the DCP we've put forward. Does that make sense, or am I talking in circles?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just some clarity, if that's the process, that we should wait, that the capacity of Manila Road and the conversation around the upgrades that are definitely going to be needed for the intersections, that's not to be captured in the DCP, that's going to come afterwards when developments come through.
Through you, Mr Mayor, sort of a bitty multi-directorate response, but essentially the way this works is the developer is responsible for the interface to the, I guess, the state infrastructure, the state-owned road, and they've got to make sure the intersection treatments and all those sorts of things are dealt with. And then Mr Resch, through his transport strategy and so on, and the growth of the city, addresses the increase of traffic that's coming from all sorts of places. So it's a multifaceted sort of thing, and you do those upgrades. We've done it in areas where there's been particular trigger points around how many lots have been released, and then the upgrades that are required at particular times. But what you've said is correct. You can't impose those things now because they come after the fact. We're just going to make sure the DCP addresses the road infrastructure that's required to make the subdivision function and connect onto the adjoining infrastructure.
Councillors, further comment? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I'll agree with what's been said there. In fact, it does mention in the report that further modelling would be required and undertaking at the 200, 400, 600 and 800 lots as they're released. So I think we need to put trust in the process that there will be planning, sufficient planning through the people who have wise heads, who are employed by council to do these things. But I also trust that I'm a believer of you build it and they will come. As Tamworth grows, we look forward to other tiers of government responding to our growth and putting in infrastructure in place. We can't expect other tiers of government to put infrastructure in place before the event. They'll do it after the event. That's how it works, mostly. And if we continue to grow, let's hope that there are some transport responses, some school responses. I was reading an article in the Northern Daily Leader just recently of Kevin Anderson's push for a school in North Tamworth. So it's being discussed. And sometimes we do have to put a little bit of faith in the process to allow things to happen.
Thank you. Further comments, councillors? Councillor Budd.
Yes, Mr Mayor. Importantly, when you look at the DCP, what it does support is local connectivity and accessibility for cycles and pathways and just general access for what will happily be school kids getting to schools and down the track as well. So it does address that stuff. It will be included in the proposal, and I think that's a plus. Thank you.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the motion as printed. All those in favour say aye. Councillor Roddy, are you voting against? Thank you. Councillors, we'll now move to 6.2. Before I call for a mover and a seconder, I'd like to call on David to answer some questions that were asked.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question on notice for 6.2, planning proposal, establishment of the Tamworth Special Entertainment Precincts. Question was posed. The report states an acoustic consultant undertook continuous noise monitoring of the Longyard Hotel from a property located in Matilda Place. When and how long was the acoustic monitoring undertaken? So to answer that question, the acoustic consultant undertook continuous unattended monitoring from a property located in Matilda Place over 2 separate weekends, those being 5 to 7 of September 2025 and 16 to 18 January 2026 during the Country Music Festival. This involved continuous monitoring 24 hours a day over those periods with data recorded at 15-minute intervals to characterise day, evening and nighttime noise conditions. The purpose of this noise monitoring was to capture the ambient acoustic environment and noise emissions, including music, experienced at a representative nearby residence. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. Now I'll call for a mover and a seconder of that recommendation. Move Councillor Sutherland, second to Councillor Budd. Councillor Sutherland, you wish to speak to that? Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments about the... Yes, Councillor Brooke.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I don't have any problem with the recommendation itself, but I did receive a late question from a resident today that I was hoping to ask for you if I could. Their concern was around during the 12-month trial period, would there be any change in how they would go about making a noise complaint if they were to have one? So I guess my question is, being that we are going to have that trial period, if a resident just made a noise complaint through their regular methods, would that information then be collated and sort of come to us at the end of that 12-month period for us to consider? Is there any additional process they would have to do there to make sure that we find out about that?
Mitch, could I ask you if you could answer that question, please?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So yeah, the precinct management plan, which forms part of the documents, at the back of it, it's got a complaint management schedule, which has a table to identify for residents how to make complaints and who the appropriate person is. So for noise complaints, it's now liquor and gaming. and that would be considered as part of the trial period and reported back to council in 12 months' time to determine whether to make it permanent or not.
Thanks, Mitch. Councillors, further comments, further questions, further comments? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation as the motion as printed, 6.2. All those in favour, please raise their hand. Those opposed, carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move into infrastructure and services. 7.1. Could I have a mover and a second? I move Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Sharpen. Councillor Budd, you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, this represents 3 sessions of the forum meeting and discussing many traffic issues, and of course some of those are now passed and done, including festival in terms of the traffic plans. Great work by our traffic folk during the forum and the participants and the stakeholders, and I commend the motion. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? Councillor Sharpen.
Can I ask a quick question about why these come to council a bit after the event, whether they can come a bit earlier?
Who can I go to? Mr Resch.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we've been doing this for a long time and they generally aren't this late. I'm not sure of the reason why on this occasion there's a number of the reports there. Mr Mackenzie might be able to shed some light on that.
Evening all, and through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I think I can shed a bit of light on it, and it's been the change from the formal traffic committee to the traffic forum. So essentially a lot of the things that you're seeing really don't need to be formally reported to council. So I guess that takes a little bit of pressure off. And we've had some discussion in-house, and we're happy to be guided by the councillors of what you want to see. Our view was that it was probably still beneficial for the councillors to see the work of the forum, and also for the community to see the work, even though we accept that this is a bit late. And you know, I guess our goal would be still to be reporting after each one, but I guess some of the priorities have got in the way, and because it hasn't been a formal requirement, we've gone that way. So I'll stand here in case there's any others.
Thank you, Graham. Councillor Rodder.
And just a question in relation to changing two Dow Street car parks to all-day loading zone. Was that really considered necessary, given how little parking options there are in that little street to start with? And when I went looking in the annexures and I think it was page 300, it was very difficult to see whether, and I couldn't see whether it meant the pictures indicated that the loading zones were replacing the ones that were already there, or they're actually supplementing the signs that are already there. But I just wanted to know the rationale for removing another 2 precious car parks in that street, because there's not a lot in there to start with.
Councillor Budd, you attend that forum?
I might be able to assist Mr Mayor, if that's all right. The issue there is that 99% of the time when you're in Dow Avenue, vehicles double park to unload. So it creates a massive, and it's normally down close to the intersection of Bridge Street, it creates a massive issue for pedestrians, a massive issue for cars getting around, particularly when you can turn off Bridge Street to Dow Avenue, you can turn around and bang in front of the truck that's double parked. So the best way to reduce that risk was to create those 2 unloading zones.
Thank you, Councillor Budd. Did you want to add to that?
No, I didn't know the detail because I wasn't in the discussion. But,
thank you. You happy with that, Councillor Rodder?
Oh, just supplementary. Would it be 24 hours, 7 days a week, or just weekends would be off? What would be the just to give people the option to park there? Having said that, I tend to agree with Councillor Budd. I did actually see there were 2 cars parked in the car parks, and then a delivery vehicle was parked in a driveway. I mean, I can see the rationale for at least one of them to be a loading zone. But I just wondered whether, given how few vehicle car parks there are in that street, could we keep one and or would it be just Monday to Friday?
Councillor Barter, I don't know whether you can answer that or not, but if you can't, we can take it on notice.
Look, Mr Mayor, I think in essence, you've got to look at the risk. Which is the highest risk? Is it the risk of a couple of car parks being missing, or is it risk of a fatality from someone being cleaned up or a car or a truck coming in? I don't actually know the specifics of the times and when it's on, but that perhaps could be on notice and come back to us.
We can take that on notice, and we might work something out there.
Can I just chip in there? It does say loading zone all day signs, so it would be suggestive of all day, but that's not what you're asking, but that's what it's the recommendation.
Weekends. He's asking weekends. We might come back with a response on that. Yeah. Further questions, councillors? There being no further questions, I'll move that motion. All those in favour, say aye, raising their hands. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move to item 7.2. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please, for 7.2, asset transfer? Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Sutherland, you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, just briefly to say that this was a good reading through the business paper, reading through the transfer of a valuable asset, but from the ownership of already being used by water and transferring it over to water seems like a logical move. And I guess that even though it's moving finances around within council itself, it's always good to see money going into the general fund. I'm looking forward to a conversation around what that will be used for in the future. I see that there's already some earmarks around some TREC aircon upgrades and some other infrastructure for some of the properties. Can you just maybe expand on that, because it was a really good positive thing, I thought.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So I guess the reason the recommendation is written the way it is because we will definitely come back to council around the way those funds will be utilised. But some of the ideas are at the moment is obviously we have two major projects with the replacement of the air conditioning and both the TREC and the town hall, which has reached end of life. There's also some improvements to another one of our depots, the depot in Swan Street, for the staff accommodation down there, which has been a real success story, having our construction crews down there. But be assured that all of this money will be re-spent on other council assets and reinvested into those assets.
Satisfied your question? Councillors, any further questions on that motion? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, when I first read it, I thought it looked like a bit of creative accounting, essentially taking funds from the Water and Waste Reserve and then paying it into the general fund. And I was going to ask a question about whether it was actually to boost the potential savings where we were looking for 3.6 million in that. Not at all. So it will be used as you indicated. Good. And I was going to ask also, is this, what future impact could it have on the Water and Waste Reserve from this action by that transfer? Because it's a significant one. And I just, yep, that's it. Thank you.
Obviously, it's a large sum of money, but both water and sewer funds are quite capital rich. The real reason behind this is not for any other, it's not creative accounting, it's actually saying that general fund doesn't have the financial capacity to upgrade the depot to meet the needs of the water and sewer staff that actually operate out of that premises. So it's like if you've got a house and you can't afford to put an extra room on it, well then maybe you sell that and you actually move to a different premises and reinvest the proceeds you get in that other premises, and the person that moves into the house has the money to do the modifications or the upgrades. So water and sewer fund will then spend their money to create a depot that will serve their purposes without relying on general fund to fund it and then recoup it through rental. Okay, so the transfer is really for the reason of saying that general fund can't invest the required amount of money for water and sewer for the improvements they want. So we're going to sell them the asset and then they can make the improvements using their own money.
Just for councillors' information, that that particular depot was the Parish Eye Council depot of the day prior to amalgamation in 2004, and had quite some years of service in it before the amalgamation, so that gives some background to where the General Manager's coming from, where there is need to be money spent. So, councillors, any further questions? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, raise their hand and say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, will now move to governance and strategy, and we'll go to 8.1. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Brooke, seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? There being no further comments, councillors, I'll put the motion as printed. All those in favour, raise their hands and say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now go to item 8.2. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor Sharp. And Councillor Sutherland, do you wish to speak to that? No, Mr Mayor. Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? There being no further comments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, say aye. Raising their hands, carried unanimously. Councillors, will now move to item 8.3. You're staying in the room. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor North. Seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor North, you wish to speak to that?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Anyone wish to make comment on that recommendation? Councillors, I'll put the motion as printed, I'm sorry. All those in favour, raise their hand, say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now go to item 8.4. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor Sharpen, seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Sharpen, you wish to speak to that?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, again, I'd like to thank the finance team for putting together an incredible report. It is quite comprehensive, and the colours certainly make it easier for the layperson to be able to understand. We still have concern, but I'm hoping at this stage it's not an emergency situation, but we do have some work to do in the next 12 or so months.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? Councillors will put the motion as printed. All those in favour, say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, will go straight to item 8.5, budget review, quarterly budget review statements. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Brooke, Councillor Budd. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that?
Just a question, Mr Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Rodder.
In the quarterly budget review pages on page 502 of the annexures under grants and contributions, capital organics recycling facility, it shows that over 2,550,000 is being returned, and I actually thought it was a much less figure at 1,550,000, which was previously approved for returning. Would that be a financial error? Would that be a...
I'll have to go to the General Manager for that.
I'll have to take it on notice. We'll send a response out to the councillors about that. I understand what you're saying, Councillor Rodder, but I think there might be another component to the $2.5 million figure. I think it's made up of a couple of different numbers. So we'll send a response out to councillors on that one.
Councillors, further comments on that report? There being no further comments, I'll put the motion as printed. All those in favour say aye, raising their hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move to 9. We've already done 8.6, so we'll move to 9. And 9.1 is Central Northern Regional Library Agreement. Could I have a mover and a second? I move Councillor North, second to Councillor Brooke. Councillor North, you wish to speak to that?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to reinforce our support of this agreement, and particularly extends the agreement for 5 years, I think, which is a wonderful thing. It's a great scheme and brings a whole range of council or council libraries together, really. I think there's more to it than just the support and the movement of books about and what's undertaken generally. I think the sharing of ideas and communication is fantastic. So I think it's a great initiative, and I'll always continue to support this, I think.
Further comments, councillors? Anyone wish to speak against? Any further comments? There are no further comments. I'll put the recommendation or the motion as printed. 9.1. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll go to item 9.2, but before we do, I'm going to ask if Peter would make some comments on that question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, we had one question for 9.2, the adoption of the Tamworth Regional Council nighttime economy strategy. And the question was, have any changes been made to the draft plan as a result of feedback received during public exhibition? The report also stated that 16 submissions were received and that these full public submissions are attached in the confidential enclosures. The confidential enclosures included various statistics relating to public surveys. However, these full submissions don't appear to be included. Can these be provided to councillors? And those submissions were forwarded to councillors directly, separately. And the response to the questions were, much of the community feedback received was operational in nature and was considered upon receipt, with matters to be addressed by relevant council units during the program development and implementation phase. Feedback specifically relating to the introduction of the special entertainment precincts was referred to the appropriate project officers for further consideration. While no structural changes were made to the final strategy, the feedback has been noted to inform ongoing work, particularly in relation to busking programs, council arts and events funding programs, youth engagement and nighttime transport. And an example of the feedback received that would be used to inform the operational implementation of actions and projects was around busking, and the consultant wrote, this project identifies busking as a self-determined activity which council will provide the framework that allows buskers to undertake this activity safely and with consideration to amenity for all. This differs to activations where council is seeking to proactively engage performers or musicians for a specific purpose at a specific time and location.
Thank you, Peter. I'll now go to the councillors and ask for a mover and a seconder. Move Councillor Brooke, second to Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Brooke, do you wish to speak to that?
I reserve the right, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? There being no further comments, Councillor Brooke, you reserve the right. You don't wish to speak. I will put the motion as printed. All those in favour raise their hands and say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, that brings us to the end of open council. I'm going to ask the General Manager, there's one item in closed council. Have we had anyone request that be held in open council?
No, Mr Mayor.
And there's no one in the audience. So, councillors, could I have a motion to move into closed council? Councillor Budd, second to Councillor North. All those in favour? Councillors, we'll move into closed council. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this report of the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 2nd of June 2026. In closed council this evening, you considered one item of business and you adopted the recommendation as per the business paper.
Councillors, that now closes the meeting, and I thank you for your attendance, but we do have a couple of items that we wish to speak to, so when the